Okay, perfect. We're good. We will go ahead and get started. I appreciate, I'm not sure how many we've got signed on yet, but we had a good group of people signed up. And so I appreciate y'all's interest. And hopefully we can get a lot of questions answered previous. But if you have kind of some things as we go through that you'd like to address, don't hesitate to kind of maybe unmute yourself, or I might have to unmute you, and go ahead and ask the question. But we'll start from the very, very basics of how to run Digital Beef, and then we'll get into some more intricate kind of things that you can do with this program that I think will be very, very beneficial for you moving forward as an operation. I personally, I haven't introduced myself. My name is Keaton Dodd, so I'm the genetics coordinator and customer service director here at BR Cottrare. And if y'all happen to tune into my talk about Brahmin pedigree history, then you've met me before. But if not, there's a formal introduction, but we'll start at the very, very beginning on how to operate Digital Beef and try to get a little more in detail as we go. First things first, I think all of us probably know this, but if you don't, right, it's brahmin.digitalbeef.com. Okay, and so you can type that and that will bring you into the homepage. And so usually it'll pop up and look something like this. I am already logged in to our account. But here, if you can follow my mouse to the left, is where the login will be. And you can enter your login and it'll pop up. Okay. And you'll have this page right in front of you. And to the left, where my mouse is, you've got this toolbar that is basically kind of your solve all as we go through. Okay. And so we'll start. I'll show you how to manage your account. And then we'll work into how to register some animals. And then we'll move into some animal searches. And how to find information on particular individuals within your herd. And so we'll start with, we look at view, okay, and this will bring up your account for your particular operation. And I'll talk to you about some of the things that you can do from this page right here that kind of carries over into everything. But just a few things that we've talked about maybe that could be useful. For us, we've already got our ranch photo incorporated on our general page, our profile information, but when you log into yours, if you don't have that particular photo uploaded, you can click where it'll basically where this says change ranch logo, and you can click on it. You can go find your file and upload yourself a picture there. Same can be said about your brand and your website. You can click on those and you can upload a photo and upload your brand for people to see as they kind of go through your page. We've got links for addresses, phone, contacts. Okay, this one could be important if you're somebody buying animals in partnership with people. We've got our syndicate status on some of those animals that we're partnership owners in. Okay, this next one is big. And so those listening kind of circle star this portion of the discussion. So you're in the view tab, okay, and we're looking and we click on this deal that's associated. And this becomes very, very important, okay, for maybe an operation whose family has children that maybe raise bred and own cattle or have their own kind of division within the herd, but they're still under the umbrella of the ranch. For instance, we've got Molly and Annie's cattle that are still under the BRC umbrella, but they're registered under their particular name because they're their bred and own cattle. And so what we can do is if you've got your website or your kind of page right here in front of you, you can go click on this associated tab so I guess this is key. This is important. If you wanted your main ranch tab to, for instance, show Annie's information and be able to be linked, you need to log into Annie's page. Then you would go to associated under Annie's page. You would click link me to another account, okay, like so, and you would be able to enter your main ranch's ID and create the link. And from that point forward, then Annie's stuff would be linked to the main Brandon and Rachel Cottrare account. And what that does is that gives us the ability to then run all of our registrations, all of our EPD information under one page. Even if it's one animal is Molly's and another animal is Annie's or it's Brandon's individually, we can all run that through our 70255 account under Brandon and Rachel Cottrare. And it kind of divvies them up across the page. From there, we talked about the associated. We can manage our account, okay? And so right now, we've got a little bit of a bill due from some of the registrations that we did earlier today. And so you would go to your view setting, okay, and then you would roll over to account, okay, and that shows. And then right here, you would click on pay invoice, okay, and when you click on that pay invoice, it brings you to a tab where you can directly input your information payment and kind of get squared up with the association there. And so it's a lot easier than sticking a check in the mail. You can do all of that digitally online. Okay. And depending, we'll talk about some of this other stuff as we continue, but depending on kind of your management practices and how you want to run your herd, some of these tabs can be useful. For one, okay, this herd tab has all of our cattle listed, right? So I would click all, and I can look at everything owned by any account under the umbrella of BR Cottrera Incorporated. And I can look, scroll through, and we can look at all of those individuals that we've got listed as such. And I can go through and I can manage them too, right? So I could view their account just clicking on this view setting. So this is Wichita, bull number 2, and I can view his account right here. And then I can kind of manage him separately, or I can also go into the edit, okay, and I can change information that we've already previously put if there was something maybe that was a little different that we noticed was wrong. Okay, next to that, we can queue up some things. We can dispose of that bull if we had sold him as maybe a non-registered animal or as an animal and we needed to get him off our list, or we could mark him as not for sale. But there's our whole herd. Okay, and you get the quick list. You can get a list if you had some breeding animals in the population, so you can look at your breeding bulls. Okay, so those are breeding bulls within each one of our divisions here. Okay, you can look at animals that qualify for yearling information to be put in on them. Okay, we can look at our weaned calf crop, pre-weaned calf crop, and then we can get into the females, so on and so forth. Okay, another interesting tab here is this legacy tab. And so what you can do with this legacy is you can follow through, okay, and just see where you sold your animals to and get kind of information on them. And so that will show all of the animals that have already been sold from your particular operation if you keep up with it. This is an interesting one. So the pasture situation can be really useful for somebody that maybe has a ranch in Wharton and then another ranch in Northeast Texas, and they run a group of cows in Louisiana, and you can set up separate pasture situations to fit that. Since all of our ranches are coordinated here in Wharton County, we just keep them all under one kind of default pasture, but you can add pastures to help make contemporary group adjustment factors depending on maybe one pasture. Those cattle perform just a little bit better than another, and so you can take that into account from an environmental perspective, keeping up with kind of your information. Okay, click here, you can see your AI certificates. And so we click on this AI certificates link, and this can be very handy for somebody trying to register calves and keep up with some of the certificates that they've happened to purchase. Okay, and so right here, we've got a list of all the bulls that we have bought certificates on. Okay, how many we've used, okay, the owner. Also, we can look right here at the use tab. So here's the purchase tab. So ones that we have left, right? So those are the ones that we've bought and we still have some certificates available. So for instance, Stingray, we bought 3, we've used 1, so we've got 2 remaining. Shows us the owner of that particular bull. Okay, then we can see the ones we've used in the past for just information purposes. And then this last one, we can see what we've sold. And so you can look at if you were selling kind of certificates on your particular bull, you can see who you sold and released certificates to. And the same can be said about our embryo certificates. So when we sell embryos, right, we can keep track of those certificates here if we purchase them. From there, I'm going to work us through some of these tabs over here. So we've got our view. I don't know what that line is. It's here. What did I do? Hold on, oh, there we go. The line got removed. Okay, so we've got view over here, and we can click on a few of these different tabs, and we'll talk about herd management here in just a second. Okay, but first things first, I'm just going to show you a few different tools that you've got at your disposal. One of which is, so once you click on your My Account, okay, you'll roll down to Customers, You've got this very interesting thing here in front of you. And so if you sell lots of cattle kind of around the South, you can see where your cattle have ended up and kind of pin them and figure out, okay, well, there's one that we sold to Sparks, and we've got a list of all of the cattle that we've sold on the location that they went in particular. And so I think this is a really neat tool, just kind of more for information than anything. I don't know if you can apply this certainly, but I just think it's really cool to look at kind of where your cattle have ended up, and you can see the quantity they've purchased and all of those from the customer tab. Same thing with suppliers. So you click here on this suppliers tab, okay, and it shows people that we have purchased things from, or they've supplied kind of stuff for us. And so you can go kind of scroll through. Who do we have here? So we've got the Lucases there in Louisiana, and you can just follow and kind of find where you've bought stuff, where you've sold stuff to the customer, and the supplier tab, right? And so just keep in mind, to find that, you've got to click on this My Account in the toolbar. Okay, and you can scroll through and you can find your customer map and your supplier map right there. Another thing that's interesting, okay, is this reporting. And so I'm not going to go through and completely map this out because there's so many variations that you can do. But basically what you can have is you can pull up an Excel worksheet, or you can pull up this PDF right here, okay, for weaning, yearling worksheet, whatever, and have a printout list of all the cattle in that particular group, depending on kind of the date that you've adjusted here at the top. All right, and so you'll print off a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet, and it'll give you kind of a very informative hard copy, I guess. And I know a lot of us, there's some instances I'll show you here in a bit, but a lot of us have maybe a binder, and we'll punch some holes in some performance information or some papers, stick it in a binder, because a lot of times it's just as easy. We have someone on the ranch going through cattle to flip through that binder, and maybe it's a little difficult to get internet access at times. And so this gives you an ability to put your calving history, your yearling ultrasound data all into kind of a hard copy format that you can then put in a binder and take with you as you kind of go about your day. So we've got, let's see, I went through reports. Okay, also in the My Account tab, we can go to tools, and there's a few things that you can look at in tools. One of these things is this data trends. Okay, and so you can keep track of kind of your progress and what you've been doing in this data trends tab. Okay, so for some people that are registering quite a few cattle, you can get a decent kind of an information system there working forward to help you make some decisions, but it'll kind of show. You can see down here at the bottom is month and year, and then you can kind of follow along and see how many animals that you did in that particular time. I think this is a very interesting. You click on letters in that tools tab, and you can customize a letter, sign it. Okay, and so I can customize, write this for seed stock customer, put my own kind of designed message, sign it, and send it on through Digital Beef to a customer, maybe a thank you, or kind of instructions on some things going forward that they could use. But I think this could be very beneficial for, like, saying just a nice thank you to a customer. And so they purchase stuff with you. When you transfer the papers over, you can also send them your own kind of custom letter. And so that maybe isn't for everybody, but that's a tool that is offered there. Okay. One of the other things that you'll see, right, you've got this show management tab. So click on this show management tab, and it will pop up with, right, you can see some of the point systems and the shows that have been taken into account. And this is not completely up to date yet, but you can see the standings, the animal standings here and how they're kind of listed. And then you can view some of the shows that are coming up, or those are previous. But there's the show management tab for those that are interested. Okay, down here on the left, just these would be what I'd consider kind of tools as well. But you've got your international letter for those who like to name or use those letters in their naming system, kind of following the international standards. And so we're in a J here right now. But right here, you've got your percentile ranks. And I'm not sure. Yeah, it's going to pull up in a separate tab. So you've got your percentile ranks. If it's going to load, it might not load for me. But basically, it'll just be, it'll show you the percentile ranks for each EPD trait. There we are. Okay, so it'll show you for each EPD trait. So for instance, calving ease, we can pull up this nice chart. One of those things too, I think that'd be nice to print out and put maybe in your ranch binder. so you can directly compare. But you'll have there the number. So right, this is the highest calving age direct in the registry. This is the lowest calving age direct in the registry. Okay, and you can find where your animal fits. So let's say BRC 177 had a 5.53 calving age direct. So then I would know he's somewhere between this 30th percentile and the 20th percentile. So that means he's in the top 30% of the breed for calving age direct. And you can follow a map, right? And so just for those, just make sure we're on the same page, right? So this would mean they're in the better 1% of the breed. This would mean they're in the bottom 5% of the breed for that. But that's how you look at your percentile rankings. And so we've got our percentile rankings right there in front of us. Another thing that we can look at is this genetic trends list, which I think is fascinating. But you can see across breed how we've improved, or in some traits maybe reduced the success level on those EPDs from 2001 until now. So for instance, you can look at yearling weight, and we've increased the average yearling weight from 12.6 in 2001 to 30.5 in 2020. And so you can see how genetic change happens. And we've got our indexes here on the far right. There's your genetic trends. And so just a couple things that you could potentially pull up to help you kind of navigate in some of your breeding decisions potentially. You've got your brand wall here, and you can look and follow through and find some of the different brands for all the operations. And so ours is, there's one of ours right there. I believe that's Annie's. But you can follow along the brand wall. Okay, we're going to move on into some more herd management based deals. So one of which I'll talk about is the ability to purchase DNA kind of kits here. And so you have a DNA order request, and we talked about this. I talked with Brandon earlier. And so actually this part isn't quite up and running, correct, Brandon? So this part's not quite up and running for the association, but what you can do is you can go through and fill out this request, right? So the reason, whatever it is you want, dam verification, whatever you choose, kind of Zoetis or Neogen, which company you want to use. We use Zoetis, and you can figure out what it is that you want to order, okay? Fill out all this information. So say you wanted to have run a 50K on that particular individual, and you'll save it in the queue and then make a call to the association, right? And Ms. Teresa at the association will send this information off. And so I'm assuming here, not too long, this will be up and running to where you can do it all online. But currently, you need to set it up in the queue and then call up there, and they will make that kind of for you. Next thing we'll go through, and so I've talked about the DNA order in the herd management tab. We will show y'all, I guess, from here how you can do some of your recording. Okay, and so you would click on this recording, and this is how you get into registering your calf. So you would click recording and then go down to calves. Okay, and so that will pull up this. So you can put in how many you're fixing to enter, and you hit continue. And so for the sake of time, we've already went through this earlier this morning and got some stuff set up. And so say, this is good information to have, say you're working on something, you get a phone call, you step away, you end up, if you're like us, doing ranch work for 4 hours before you realize that you didn't finish registering that calf. Well, good news is it saves right here in your work queues. Okay, and so you click on this work queues tab, and you click on birth recording, right? And so we can find the queue that Brandon and I had set up this morning. You go to this queue, okay, and we've got the work that we've done so far on this group. And so we've got a group of cattle set up for you to look through, but I'll just walk you through kind of the information that you need to register your calf, right? And so you've got registration number there, okay? Then you're gonna put in that individual's dam, okay? And you can put in a temperament score for that cow, and then her teat and udder suspension and kind of her teat size, following the guidelines. If it's a natural calf, yeah. If it's a natural calf, if it's an embryo calf, obviously that doesn't apply. And so that's why you see it blank and a bunch of these. Okay, and then you enter the birth date, service type, right? So was it an AI? You see NS, was it a natural service calf, or was it an ET calf? And you can punch that in. Okay, then you put in the sire's registration number. Okay, and then so 964,180, it'll pop up. That's 160/8. Okay. Put in the brand information. So you type in whatever your brand code is, or you can look it up right here by clicking on this kind of, I don't even know what that is, sheet on the right side of the place to type in the number. Okay. You would input your private herd number for that particular animal. So for us, we're on 113 is what that individual would be. Okay. Then we get into gender, and you can put bull or cow, right? So this is a cow. You can adjust horned or polled status depending on what's horned. This calf was also gray Brahmin, but you can change. And you've got, like for this instance, right, tiger striped, maybe if you're registering F1 through here, but you can adjust the color. If you felt like it, you could input some form of description of this calf. And then we get into some birth weights, right? So when you're registering a calf, all you can input at this point in time is their birth weights. And I'll show you how to go in and adjust weaning weights just a little later. But you input their birth weight. So this calf was 58. And we put how we measured that. So it gives you an option. You use a scale, a hoof tape, or even it has an option for estimate. And you can go and put their calving ease score. So this calf was born unassisted, unobserved, but you can put easy pull. For instance, you see this calf down here was an easy pull, hard pull, surgery, or you can even put maybe if that calf was born breech. And those adjustment factors will go into calculating calving ease direct for that calf and its parents. Okay, you can adjust if it was a twin, single, triplet, twin to a bull, twin to a heifer, all that good stuff. Okay, this is a big one that we pay very, very close attention to. And I highly suggest it for those of y'all as we try to make improvements on calf vigor across the breed. But we can put kind of how that calf did after it was born in the nurse code section. So we've got a list: calf nursed vigorously with no assistance, or we've got this one down here, assistance needed, cow's fault. And so I'm assuming that cow maybe had an udder issue, Brandon, would be maybe what we put there. The cow just kind of didn't show much interest in that calf, and so that's something to make note of. That way we can keep up with some of our mating decisions and maintain calf vigor. Okay, then you can insert the name, right? And so we've got our list of names, but you can put the name in. Okay, you can change the herd number there. Okay, this is an interesting thing, and so we kind of discussed this morning, Brandon and I. You can apply a season, so this can kind of be however you want it to be. For us, we like just to signify if that calf was born in the spring or if that calf was born in the fall. And so our spring-born calves, we signify with an A, and our fall-born calves, we signify with the B.
Before we do, I need to go and put a 1 in all of these.
Okay. We need to put a 1 in all these real quick, just so when I go to register it doesn't tell us it didn't work. Okay, so we put a 1.
I take that back. Put 2 on the blue ones.
Okay, so we'll put 1s and then 2s on these blue ones.
That's our contemporary group.
Yep, so that's how we keep up with the contemporary groups of these calves that we're registering. So now those should be set, and hopefully when we register them, we won't get too many pings. But continue to where we are. So we've got our pasture setting, and then we'll look over, and you've got flush date, transfer date. Okay, this is a big one right here. So if these are ET calves, it's nice to have information on their recip, and so you can put that recip's information in right there. Okay, and then for those that are selling calves, before maybe they potentially registered and you want to transfer, this is a really neat tool. So if you know their registration number, you can input it right here. We don't know everybody's registration number, probably, that's purchased stuff from us. Okay, and so what you can do right here is hit this question mark. And so from there, if you know their hometown, the zip code of their hometown, so I just put in my town I grew up in, Blanco, so 78606. I find profiles. Okay, so let's say Mayfield Ranch happened to be the ones that bought it from me, so I just check in right here, and that pops up to transfer to Mayfield Ranch. But what if, okay, it's somebody new, and this is the first Brahmin, and they aren't set up in the system yet? Well, then I can create a new profile for them to transfer it myself. Okay, and so I can input their farm and ranch name, all of their contact information, and so that could be a very, very handy tool. Maybe you sold a heifer calf to a junior exhibitor who has never shown a Brahmin before, and so you can put them into the system and transfer that very, very easily. And so there's a tool that can help you out going forward. You can put the date of purchase, okay, and then some DNA information, some sampling there at the end when we haven't input anything. But so Brandon, everything's good to go then, huh?
Yes, let me make sure that those contemporary groups real quick.
All right,
So
we're gonna
all
look.
of these are ET heifers except the last one, which is a bull. So the change those twos back to a one because everything's ET and
Okay.
they're already separated by calving season, and then the bull needs to be a two.
Okay, that's the bull.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're set up now, and so now we've got everything inputted, and I'm going to show y'all how to make the transfer process or the registration process happen. So we'll scroll over. Does everything look good,
Mhm.
Brandon? Okay, so we're going to scroll over, and then I'm going to show y'all how to register. So I would click validate.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's see. Like on this 528, wait, let's do the temperament. She's a natural calving cow. She was extremely going
Okay, so we're going to add the temperament to this natural cow.
a good udder.
So the calf was docile. The cow had a good udder.
I said she was a 7.
7 for udder, so that means good in terms of suspension.
That's right, and probably a 7 the same way.
And we'll put a 7
So,
for her
like
teat score.
The lower numbers are less desirable.
Yeah, so that's something too that we're kind of just bouncing around, but as information comes into my head, I want to share it. We've discussed this today, Brandon and I. So for your udder suspension and your teat scoring system, when you're inputting it into the digital beef for the Brahmin Association, it is actually, so a 1 would be the poorest and a 9 would be the most ideal. And so that's something to keep in mind because depending on the scoring system that you look at personally, there's some differences on how that's ranked out among breeds or kind of the institution that put it together. And so, but I think we're ready. We're ready for everything.
Validate.
And so I'm going to go ahead and click this validate. So that's what you do once you have all the information put in. You're going to hit validate. Okay, and it's going to go through. And it's going to show us all of the errors, if there are any. And there's a lot. So we've got errors on each one of these for their recipient female information. Me and Brandon are talking through this right now. So if the recipient female information is messed up,
that shouldn't matter too much because all of our recips are commercial cows, so they wouldn't have a registration number.
Okay, so then now we're going to go ahead and
except for that error right there.
So this last one, and we did this one on purpose to show you what happens if something isn't right. So this last one, we are registering this bull calf, and we don't have the AI certificate for him just yet, and we haven't put that into the system, and so he's going to get kicked, and I will show you where he gets kicked to just a second so that you don't have to restart. You can just go back and find him when you get that certificate and go ahead and finish registering him. But we're ready to go. So then after you hit validate, you're going to hit this commit to registry. Okay. Right. So we end up with 1. So let's. Okay, we've got that 1 right there, but I'll show you where it goes. Okay, so we're going to go back to the view tab. And from that view tab, if you want to see the animals that didn't kind of fall in line with all of the parameters that they needed, we'll go to kickouts. Okay, and it will show us, okay, our work order. So we had a few that got kicked out, and we'll go back through and figure out what the problem was and why they got kicked out. But they're right there, so you can jump back in and figure out, and it'll tell you maybe some of the information that was wrong with them, like for that last bull that we expected to get kicked out. It says an AI certificate needs to be provided. Okay, and so then we can add that, revalidate, okay, re-register, and you don't have to go through and do it all over again. And so we've got those kickouts, and you can find them very, very easily. Okay, and so we're going to scroll and figure out exactly what we've got going on here. Okay, so the recipient dam information, for some reason it's giving us a kickback on those recip cows. Not a big deal, something that we can go through and fix pretty quickly.
Click on that side over there. Okay, so they wouldn't be in the system. we would have to work on that. But normally what it would do is go straight through.
Yeah, we're not really exactly sure why it's kind of holding up right now on this, but in a normal situation, we did this earlier with our bull calves and it went right through, no problem. And so we've got just maybe a little glitch there, but you've got your kickouts. Okay, I'm going to show you now how to manage weaning weights, right? So we've got our work cues, but you've also got this herd management tab. Okay, and what you can do is you can go, there's a few ways to go about this. So one way I like to do is you go to your herd management tab and then you click on inventory. Okay, and it shows you all of the calves, right, that you've got in your inventory. And what it does is it gives you a blank if that particular animal doesn't have their weaning information input yet. So we would look at like the group, I can click on the group of bulls that have been weaned and I can see who doesn't have weaning information yet. So this bull right here, BRC Wool Macklin 112 is one of our show bulls. And what you do, right? So you can click on right here his cue. You're going to cue it by clicking on that box. Okay, and so his weaning weight kind of deal is cued there. And so then what I'm going to go do is I'm going to go back to this recording. Okay, I'm going to go to, no, actually, I'm not going to do that. I just lied to you. I'm going to go to work cues down here at the bottom. I'm going to click on weaning. Okay, and we've got him queued up right there. So there he is. Will Macklin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this queue. Okay, Wichita's in there to have his information put in, but we've got Woe Macklin right here in front of us to look at, and I'll walk you through kind of how to get him queued in and add his weaning weight. So his name is there. So what we need to do is we just need to put the weaning date in. So he was weaned 11/19 of 20. Okay, I'm going to put his weight in, and he weighed 580 pounds. Oh, cancel, sorry. So he was 11/19 of 20. Okay. 20. There we go. Okay. And then he was 580 pounds. Okay. And then disposition. So he was good. Don't worry about hip height right now on him. Okay. He was in our default pasture. And so that's what we're going to put in for him right now. Okay. So we will go ahead and validate him. Okay, and then we're going to commit that information to registry. Okay, and it's officially done. So we've entered weaning information on Woe Macklin. So we highly suggest on keeping up with kind of that information, weaning weights and yearling weights and such. And it's a very, very easy thing to manage. Okay, so that was one way I showed y'all to do it. Another way is, right, you can just click right here on the main page, weaned, go find him. You can go through the herd management tab and you can find him that way as well through inventory. And so there's a lot of different ways you can go about. I'm sure there's more ways, but those are how we figured the easiest to just go ahead and insert a weaning weight. You can do the same thing with yearling weight. So I go yearling, I can click on this yearling. So that's our yearling females tab. You see we've got these boxes for animals that need yearling information put. So I would just queue them up. So for one, I would just hit right here and she would pop up and she's in the queue now. So I would just go to work queues. I would go to yearling. There she is, popped up right there. And so I don't have her information to input it right now, but that's all you'd have to do. Then you go to this queue. We'd go through and input her data. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask when it comes to kind of how registering, and we'll get to the bottom of kind of why that reset code is bouncing on us here in a little bit, but we're going to move on from that concept. So hopefully everybody's got the registration portion down, how to transfer animals. Remember the associated tab, right? So when we talked about just a little review, I guess we talked about how you can put all of your herd information under one ranch kind of page, and so that will allow you to register. Like I said, if maybe you have a couple of junior exhibitors who raise their own bred and owned cattle that are still under the ranches.
So go to view.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, and so what you're talking about right now, if you go to all, click on all right here. And you can scroll to the bottom and you can see all those other inventories.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Brandon was showing us another way to look at kind of everybody separate herd, right? So we've got, this is the main group, and then we can see scrolling. So then there we can see cows that are registered specifically in Rachel's number. We can see Brandon's individual registry there, and then we can see Molly's cattle, and we can see Annie's cattle right there. And so we've got everybody listed, and you can kind of manage them that way, but it's all under. So the benefit there is you don't have to log in and out of each account to do whatever it is you need to do. You can just log into, for us, we just log into this main Brandon and Rachel Cottrell account, and we can manage all of the ranch kind of divisions, I guess you'd say, very, very easily through this tab. Brandon, is there anything on this page that you think we could add? I'm going to jump into some EPD searches and stuff like that here in a second. Okay, so we're good there. Okay, so then we're going to bounce back to home page. So right here, if you ever want to bounce back to the home page, you can do that, or you can click on search tools right here and do the same thing that I was fixing to do, and go to the search here. But I like to go to the home page. I think it's kind of easier to visualize for me. And so we've got it right here in front of us. And we're just I'm going to walk you through how to search an animal. Okay, and then with that, I'm going to walk you through maybe using each one of these search tools. So ranch search tool, if I wanted to, let's just type in Cottrell. I didn't know the name of the ranch, and I wanted to pull it up and figure out their member ID or their prefix or whatever. I can just type in the name Cottrell, search. Okay, and we'll pop up all the ranches with Cottrell in them. So I can find Brandon's specific account. I can find Brandon and Rachel's account. Here's Molly's account. Okay, I don't know where, oh, there's Annie's account. So we can get into all of them right there just by typing Cottrell. Or if you wanted to, you could type in, say, Wharton, and this is probably going to be very big list, but we can find all the ranches in Wharton. Maybe you knew you sold the calf to Wharton, but you couldn't remember who you sold it to. This might have been a mistake. This might take an hour to load all the Brahman ranches in Wharton. All right, I'm not going to do this, but you get the idea. We'll refresh. Okay, you get the idea. You can type in the city and search and find all the ranches there in that particular area. All right, the next thing I'm going to show you, okay, is this animal search. And so there's a lot of things this can do. The only thing I'll say is it's a little bit finicky if you don't have the right name. Okay, it will be just a little bit hard-headed on you at times. But all in all, this is a very, very good tool. So you can search by their registration number, and I don't have one of those right off the top of my head, but private herd number. So I'm going to type in 458/7. Okay, so we'll search for Noble. Okay, and so we type in his private herd number, or you could type that in also. I could type that in as his name because his name is Mr. V8 458/7. So we type it in, right, and we can click on it. We find Noble right there. Okay, one thing you'll click all day right here on their name. That's not where you click. So you'll click on their registration number. So he's 919-887. You'll click on that. Okay, and it pops up Noble's individual registration page there. Okay, and so I'm just going to walk you through some of the information and how you can handle that. So right here's the View Certificate tab. So you can click that, look at a Noble certificate. Also, right here, you can add a photo. So his is already added, but you click right here. I think it would either say add photo or it would say manage photo, just like it does. And you would click on it, and then you can upload, right? You can even add a description. Okay, and then you can insert a photo right there for Noble. Okay, and go back to animal details. Also, up here on the right-hand side, you can edit it, right? If so, maybe you had some information that was wrong or you needed to change something, you can edit that animal's information. You've got immediate pedigree, so his sire and dam, and you can click on them and it'll direct you to their page for sire and dam. Okay, here's an interesting thing. So people probably are curious on what COI is, and not everybody knows what COI stands for. So that is your coefficient of inbreeding. So Noble, he is inbred to the to 3.8% basically. So he's minimal to say the least. But to help you categorize, and so if you want to just kind of write this down or keep it in mind so you can compare animals for how inbred they are. An animal that would be parents are full sibs. So each one of his parents are, so if we bred a noble 21/8 son to a noble 21/8 daughter, they would have an inbreeding coefficient of 25%. Half sibs, so if we bred a noble 21/8 to a 259 21/8, just making stuff up here, their inbreeding coefficient would be 12.5%. Okay, and so that just gives you kind of a gauge there. So him in particular, he's 3.8%, so he's not very inbred at all. But as that number gets higher, the incidence of inbreeding in that animal's pedigree gets higher. So hopefully everybody understands that. You can see he's an embryo transfer calf right there. You can look at the owners. Rachel was the breeder, and then you can look at the owners. And so there's multiple, he's multiply owned. You click in this ownership tab if you want to see that. So you can see his owners. Okay. And then this right here, Brandon and I really have started to like this. So I talked about, you've got your little binder that you drive around with in the mule or whatever when you're going through calf, and you can have this performance report. And so we print off these performance reports on kind of the cattle that we've got. And it's got all the information you need from owners, name, pedigree. Okay, and so you've got a 3-generation pedigree on that individual, and then all of its EPDs. So we've got the EPDs right here across, and so you can punch 3 holes in that, stick it in a binder, and when people come out to the ranch, you can very easily flip through and show them kind of that animal's particular information. So that's performance report. It's right here at the bottom under that bull's age. Okay, and then we'll just flip through some of these little tabs here at the bottom. So the first one, I like this one a lot, the EPD information. So this might be foreign to some, and some this might be something you've looked at a million times. So I'll talk through it as if nobody's ever seen it. So what you've got here, so you've got these 3 columns, 3 rows, I guess. You've got this one, that is the animal we're discussing. So that is noble. This one is noble's sire. Okay, and then this row is noble's dam. Okay, and so we can see these big black bold numbers. That is noble's EPDs at the top. Below is that percent change, and you don't need to really worry about that, but basically that's has to do with the standard deviation of that number and kind of the variability. But the number you really need to look at outside of EPD is you also need to compare these accuracy figures. And so what that is basically how trustworthy or how similar can you expect their offspring to fall to that EPD. And so you can see here's Noble's calving ease EPD. So he's 3.64. His birth weight 5.6. And so he's got a very, very high accuracy value for his birth weight. He's 0.88. And so we have basically, it goes up to 1. So 100%, if it was a 1, that would mean every calf that he had it would be of this birth weight. And so a 0.88 is very, very high. The last thing to look at right there is you've got their percentile rank. Okay, so it's commonly known that Noble, he needs protected most. His birth weight is really his kind of one area to watch. And so he's in the bottom 95th percentile for his birth weight, but then you click and you can look right across here. He's in the top 1% of the entire registry for his weaning weight, his yearling weight, his docility, tenderness, things like that. He's top 1% for both of his indexes, right? So we've got both of those. So you can see there, their percentile rank. And then this last deal, I think it is very useful if you just kind of want a brief overview to quickly look where they stand in comparison to the average among the registry. And so we've got right here, this green line is breed average. Okay, and then the red line is that animal's actual EPD. So you can see there's each one of Noble's EPDs in comparison to breed average. And so he's got a few that are down here, but most of them are very, very close to that top 1% or 2%. And then the last thing, and this is something we could probably gather more information on just as a whole to help me kind of understand it just a little bit better. But what this yellow band represents is where you can expect those EPDs to fall from based on their accuracy value. So right here, Noble's carcass weight, I basically can expect him to pass on a carcass weight to his offspring that's somewhere from top 1% of the breed, 10% of the breed. And versus our yield grade, there's a lot more variability. And what that has to do is just how heritable the trait is. But you can look We've got his performance information where we can see his birth weight and his adjusted birth weight, his weaning weight, adjusted weaning weight. We've got his scan data right here. So you can look at his ribeye, his fat thickness, his IMF score, his rump fat scoring in the contemporary group he was in. You see anything there, Brandon?
So because he was an embryo calf, it's not going to readily kick you out a 205 adjusted weaning weight. So what you can do is click on that blue.
Okay, so what Brandon said, I'm sure y'all can hear him, but I'll repeat it. So since Noble was an embryo calf, it won't automatically generate you a 205-day weight. So what you'll do is you can click on this and it'll give you how to calculate it, right? And then it'll show you even the adjustments and give you the score. So right here, right, it's got all the adjustment factors if you wanted to calculate it yourself. Shows you the formula. And then right here at the bottom, you can see it gave him an adjusted weaning weight there of 721 pounds. Okay, and so that could be very useful to some people. We've got his average daily gain and his weight per day of age to his temperament score that we took at here, his age. So we took his yearling weight there at 449, and that's why it has to be adjusted. Anything else on that page, Brandon, that you can see? Okay, we've got his performance stats. Don't worry about that. That's the same. All right, interesting tab here, progeny. And so you can see the calves that he had and what year they had him. So if you wanted to see, so like here he has 596 total progeny, but we wanted to find a heifer that was born in 2016. And so you click right there on that plus sign, all of his offspring from 2016 will pop up. Okay, and if you want to get rid of that, then you hit this minus and it goes away. Okay, you can see a very extensive look at his pedigree. Okay, and so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 generation pedigree right there that you can look through and compare. Okay, you can see, okay, some breeding stuff, semen inventory. We don't use digital beef to keep up with that, but if that's something you choose to do, you certainly can. We can see DNA information and a bunch of different things. And like I talked about, ownership. If anybody has any questions about kind of information you can gain from there, let me know. I'll walk y'all through the last portion of things that I think is very important. Okay, so we'll go to search tools. Well, actually, let's go to the home page. I'm going to show you how to use this middle tab. Maybe if you're somebody who focuses heavily on EPDs, or you see a weakness amongst your animals that you need to find a bull or two to use to kind of improve your herd. So let's say we need some severe improvements EPD wise to find a bull who had a birth weight max. So we want to improve calving ease. The max birth weight we'll tolerate is a 0.7. And then we want, and that's really good if you are pretty good. That's like top 25% of the breed. They're pretty good. But he also needs to have tremendous amounts of growth. And so we're going to put, we want an elite animal in terms of growth. So we're going to put, say the minimum is 86. So I think that's like top 1 or 2% of the breed for yearling weight right there. And we'll put that in the minimum column. So that means we only want to see sires that are in the top whatever percent for this growth. They're 86 or above. But we don't want to sacrifice maternal value. Okay. And so we're going to have a minimum of a total maternal of 31. And I'm pretty sure that's at least top 5% of the breed there. Okay. And we'll click on the bottom here, bulls. And then whichever one of these you want to sort it by. So we'll just sort it by birth weight. It doesn't matter. This is going to be a pretty inclusive group if I was to guess. Okay. So we'd click search here. Sure enough, 2 bulls pop up that fit our needs. And so BRC Republic of Texas is one of those that fit kind of the strenuous list that we put together of falling in the acceptable birth weight range and yearling weight range. And just like Noble, you can see kind of how to manage his. He's got his performance report. There's his EPDs. So yeah, he was, his birth weight is in the top 20%. Yearling weight's top 1%, I believe. And yep, and then his total maternal, I think, is top 1% too. So we've got all that. And certainly if you have a question about something that you would like me to expand on or re-go through, I don't mind working through that. And I've gone through everything that I had listed as helpful tools. Brandon, can you think of anything that would be a helpful, informative piece of this that we could use to help?
Did you show how to upload a picture?
Yep, we
Yes.
showed how to upload a picture. You can look at, I don't know if, did we do, yeah, we showed you the show management, we showed suppliers, reports, tools. I don't know, this is, I guess, the situation where we open it up to questions here. Do I need to click on a mic to open it up or? Okay, so if anybody has any questions, we got one in the chat box, I'm sorry. Oh, that's here. Okay, if you have a chat, you can put it in the chat box. Or if you want to unmute yourself, okay, you're more than welcome to ask a question. Hopefully that was pretty thorough. But I know there's got to be some questions.
I would be scared to ask a question if I had it.
Oh, do I hear somebody talking? Maybe. Well, here's the other option. I know that we've probably got questions, but nobody wants to kind of single themselves out in front of everybody. So Keaton, Keaton at brcottrere.com. If you have a question, don't hesitate to shoot it over to me in an email and I'll get back to you rapidly. Or you can call me at 512-924-9954 and I would be more than happy to walk you through any of this stuff, or maybe you could teach me a thing or two. But I think we've got a lot put in place, so hopefully knowledge-based information that you can take home in your operation and use to kind of help your program out.
We have a question in the chat.
We have a question in the chat. Perfect. Let me see. Where's our chat? Question states, okay, in how to add an animal's picture. Absolutely.
Did you ask that? No, I
Oh.
didn't. Well, probably.
Okay, so let's search. I want an animal that doesn't have a picture uploaded already. So Brandon, what's a,
All of mine have
View.
to.
okay, we'll go to view and we will click on, I guess we can click just about,
Maybe Will Macklin. Well, I was like,
there's a bunch of them.
Yes,
I mean, we'll just click on Wichita, for instance. He's right here. So click on view. Okay. And right here, we would click manage photos for Will Macklin, or not Will Macklin. This is Wichita. I'm sorry. And then we would go choose file right here and we would go find it in the file. So choose file. Obviously, we don't have a picture of this bull on this computer to upload, but you can click choose file. You can go through your information, find it. I don't want to put Sierra's information out for everybody, but you can go through your information and find it. Put a comment even if you want to. Click upload this photo. It should upload. And it's as simple as that. Not too hard. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can put like a front view, rear view. You could even put like a siren dam picture up there, I think, if you wanted to. Is there a resolution that works? We want a pretty low resolution. Yes, it has to be less than 2 megabytes. That'd be the only thing, is make sure it's a lower resolution photo. And Jackie, I hope that helps you kind of with some of that information. But certainly if you need that further, don't hesitate to call me or email me and I'll walk you through it. Philip had a question. How long did it take for you to learn all this? I'm 70 and it'll take me a lifetime to learn it all. Registration is very interesting. The EPD is very informative. I want to keep this for further review. I would say it's actually Digital Beef. Huge compliments to the association for choosing this. I think this is a very, very manageable system to work through. The other thing that I would say is if you kind of are stumbling maybe through some of the things that I said, maybe watch this back a couple of times, but more than anything, just kind of play with it. And I think that was the biggest thing that me and Brandon learned some stuff, just playing with it. We went through and clicked on tabs, figured out what worked, what maybe didn't. And so I hope that's a hard question to answer, how long it would take. For everybody, it's a little bit different, but I think that the way Digital Beef set up, if you're 90 or you're 7, you could probably find a way to work through it with just a little bit of guidance. So hopefully I helped answer that question. Philip? One more question. We got a yes, thanks. Oh, there we are. Sincerely apologize for joining late. I'm certain that you'll be able to find this uploaded here later on, or we'll send it to you. But when crossbreeding with Brahmins, what's the COI you recommend in terms of breeding half sibs and working towards concentrating certain traits in the line? That's a good question. Kind of a little off of what we were talking about, but as far as inbreeding coefficients and what I would suggest, it really just depends on the cattle. The only thing that I will say is mandatory when you're concentrating a bloodline is they better be good. Because when you concentrate, right, if it's, you're going to concentrate the bad traits that they've got along with the good traits. And so you want to make sure that animal is superior in regards to phenotype. The other thing to keep in mind is you want to hope that that animal is free of any form of a genetic defect. Because if they're carriers for any particular genetic defect, you start increasing that coefficient of inbreeding, you're definitely going to start to see incidences of genetic defects show up. If you have an animal with a genetic defect, you are considering noble, I would say just kind of think carefully about what you're doing and how tight you want to do it. I don't think there's any problem with concentrating those genetics. Maybe full SIB matings might be a little extreme if you were asking me for my personal opinion. Hope that answered your question. Okay, looks like we're kind of out of questions. barcatrer.com 512-924-9954. Don't hesitate to give myself, or I'm sure Brandon wouldn't mind answering a question via email. And so if you have any more information you'd like to gather, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank y'all for joining in. And I do think Sierra said that this will be sent to everybody that signed up for this. So early next week, we'll send you a copy of this for everybody that signed up. And you can review, go over it again, and maybe come up with some new questions. But thank y'all once again for joining in.